She, plural, she's, an underground fort or palace in which fairies in Gaelic folklore are held to live. A she, the fairy folk of Ireland in Gaelic folklore, a member of the she. A fairy in Gaelic folklore, compare banshee. Aoshi, Ishi. AC, EC. Sid. Ishi, older form, is the Irish name for the supernatural race in Celtic mythology. Dainshi in Scottish Gaelic, comparable to fairies or elves. They are said to descend from the Tuatha De Danann, meaning the people of Danu, depending on the Abrahamic or pagan tradition. The Ishi are said to live underground in fairy forts across the Western Sea or in an invisible world that coexists with the world of humans. This world is described in the Liber Gabala Aaron as a parallel universe in which the Ishi walk among the living. In modern Irish, the people of the mounds are also called Dainshi. In Scottish Gaelic, they are called Dainshi. In both cases, it means people of the fairy mound. They are variously said to be the ancestors, the spirits of nature, or goddesses and gods. Etymology. In the Irish language, Ishi means people of the fairy mounds, as she means the otherworldly mounds or hills. In modern Irish, the word is she. In Scottish Gaelic, she. In Old Irish, she, and the singular is she. By the time of the Celtic Revival, when the fairy faith became a topic for English and English language authors, she in its various forms, with various meanings, became a loan word into English and took on a variety of often inaccurate meanings. The she are the hills or tumuli that dot the Irish landscape. In modern Irish, the word is she. In Scottish Gaelic, sith. In Irish, sídhe, and the singular is si. In a number of later English language texts, the word she is incorrectly used both for the mounds and the people of the mounds. For example, W.B. Yeats, writing in 1908, referred to the Ishi simply as the she. However, she in older texts refers specifically to the palaces, courts, halls, or residences of the otherworldly beings that supposedly inhabit them. The fact that many of these she have been found to be ancient burial mounds has contributed to the theory that the Ishi were the pre-Celtic occupants of Ireland. David Fitzgerald conjectured that the word she was synonymous with immortal and is compared with words such as she sat, they wait, remain, shebeo, lasting, sheban, perpetual, and shebe, long life. In most of the tales concerning the she, a great age or long life is implied. In Irish folklore, in many Gaelic tales, the Ishi are later literary versions of the Tuatha De Danann, people of the goddess Danu, the deities and deified ancestors of Irish mythology. Some sources describe them as the survivors of the Tuatha De Danann who retreated into the otherworld when fleeing the mortal sons of Mil-Espain, who, like many other early invaders of Ireland, came from Iberia. As part of the terms of their surrender to the Milesians, the Tuatha De Danann agreed to retreat and dwell underground. In later interpretations, each tribe of the Tuatha De Danann was given its own mound. Geoffrey Keating, an Irish historian of the early 17th century, equates Iberia with the land of the dead, providing a possible connection to the Ishi. In folk belief and practice, the Ishi are often appeased with offerings and care is taken to avoid angering or insulting them. Often they are not named directly, but rather spoken of as the good neighbors, the fair folk, or simply the folk. The most common names for them, Ishi, Dainshi, singular, Dainshi, and Dainshi mean literally people of the mounds, referring to the she. The Ishi are generally described as stunningly beautiful, though they can also be terrible and hideous. Ishi are seen as fierce guardians of their abodes. whether a fairy hill, a fairy ring, a special tree, often a hawthorn, or a particular loch or wood. It is believed that infringing on these spaces will cause the Ishi to retaliate in an effort to remove the people or objects that invaded their homes. Many of these tales contribute to the changeling myth in West European folklore, with the Ishi kidnapping trespassers or replacing their children with changelings as a punishment for transgressing. The Ishi are often connected to certain times of year and hours, as the Gaelic otherworld is believed to come closer to the mortal world at the times of dusk and dawn. The Ishi correspondingly become easier to encounter. Some festivals, such as Samhain, Beltane, and Midsummer, are also associated with the Ishi. Alternate names in Irish folklore. The Ishi are known by many names in Ireland, among them Angel, Anubhair, the proud angels, Dain Usul, the noble folk, Dain Maith, good people, Daimna Erig, air demons, Dream Anubair, excessively proud people, Shefer, ferrymen, Shigade, little fairies, Slusil, host of the churchyard, Sluna Marb, host of the dead, Slushi, fairy host, Slushi Tuatha Dé Danann, fairy host of the Tuatha Dé Danann, Na Usul, the noble or the gentry. Dain May. Dain May is Irish for the good people, which is a popular term used to refer to the fairies in Irish folklore. Due to the oral nature of Irish folklore, the exact origins of the fairies is not well defined. There are stories enough to support two possible origins. The fairies could either be fallen angels or the descendants of the Tuatha Dé Danann. In the latter case, this is equivalent with the Ishi. In the former case, it is said that the fairies are angels who have fallen from heaven, but whose sins were not great enough to warrant hell. They are generally human-like, though there are exceptions such as the puka and the mermaid. The defining features of the Irish fairies are their supernatural abilities and their temperament. If treated with respect and kindness, Irish fairies can be quite benevolent. However, if they are mistreated, they will react cruelly. Types. The Banshee or Banshee from Old Irish, which means woman of the She, has come to indicate any supernatural woman of Ireland who announces a coming death by wailing and keening. Her counterpart in Scottish mythology is the Beanshee, sometimes spelled Beanshee. Other varieties of Ishi and Dainshee include the Scottish Beannai, the washerwoman who is seen washing the bloody clothing or armor of the person who is doomed to die, the Leinenshee, the fairy lover, the Catshee, a fairy cat, and the Sushie, the fairy dog. The Slashee, the fairy host, is sometimes depicted in Irish and Scottish lore as a crowd of airborne spirits, perhaps the cursed, evil, or restless dead. The Sabra, anglicized as Shivra, may be a type of these lesser spirits prone to evil and mischief. However, an Ulster folk song also uses Shivra simply to mean spirit or fairy. Creedam She. Creedam She is Irish for the fairy faith, a collection of beliefs and practices observed by those who wish to keep good relationships with the Ishi and avoid angering them. The custom of offering milk and traditional foods, such as baked goods, apples, or berries, to the Ishi has survived through the Christian era into the present day in parts of Ireland, Scotland, and the diaspora. Those who maintain some degree of belief in the Ishi also are careful to leave their sacred places alone and protect them from damage through road or housing construction.